Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Hentges with Beyond the Chart. In this Asia update video, we're going to check back in on the Shanghai Composite, the Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, India's Nifty 50, and then this week, SINA and Vipshop, which may be doing a huge head and shoulders bottom, so stay tuned. All right, let's start off here with the Shanghai Composite. So you can see this continues to push out into the apex of this triangle, which I'm calling wave B here. We were up about 21 points for the week, so just marginally up. Let's see, where did we close last Friday? Was here, 3104, and we're at 3125. So not a whole lot of movement. We continue to just kind of, push out into this triangle. Let's take a look at this on a weekly chart, and here's the picture on the weekly chart. And again, like I mentioned, up 21 points for the week. Here's my expectation for the next wave down when it breaks out of this consolidation that's been going on for quite a while now. All right, that's the Shanghai Composite, the Hang Seng Index. A Hang Seng Index is showing the weakness that I'm expecting. It's breaking down out of this little head and shoulders top in here, a little shoulder, the head, and then a right shoulder right here. The neckline we broke down, the moving averages are rolling over, and I'm expecting this to come down and challenge this trend line, which I can extend out to the right, and that's the picture that I'm looking for. Let me take a look at the Hang Seng on a weekly chart. You can see for the week it was down 312 points, so now we've got two consecutive closes below the 10-week moving average. And that's a first sign that I want to see that this thing is starting to roll over and coming down. And right now it's starting to do that, just like right in here. I mean, you got to get these first, this first move. Now, it doesn't always guarantee. We got two right here. We didn't break that low of that two-bar sequence, and then it rallied. Okay, but here it broke the low of that two-bar sequence, and it started to sell off. So now we're, I think, at a pretty interesting juncture here on the weekly chart on the Hang Seng. Let's take a look at the India Nifty 50. This continues to pull back. I talked about how the key was for this corrective action to be over, that we need to break this trend line and punch up to the top. It tried it right here. Let me zoom in a little bit. It tried to do it back here on October 24th, couldn't do it, and then we just continued to just roll on over. Now, the 21 is below the 55, so kind of the short-term and intermediates rolling over. I did have intermediate wave 4 back over here with kind of a question mark in my mind. Was it complete? And looking for the punch through the trend line to kind of confirm it, but it hasn't happened. It's continued to pull back down. So now what I think may be going on here is that intermediate wave 2's pullback was shallow and brief. Okay, it was only like 23% or so. So that's a very brief Fibonacci retracement. And then right now we're getting, so because it was shallow and brief, we should be getting the opposite of that. We should be getting deep and longer. Well, we're getting the longer for sure. Well, right in this area is about 50%. And let me do a retracement of wave 3. Okay, so we're looking of wave 3. And 50% is slightly below that potential support area. So it's around 8250. That's why I've got the 4 right down in that area. So I think we continue to sell off. We could be down here in the 8250 to 8300 before this thing wants to end. All right, that's that picture on the daily chart. We look at the weekly chart, and here it is. We are getting a couple closes. This did close below the 10-week. So now it's just a question of, do we come down intra-week next week, come down during the middle of the week and then pull back up, or does this continue to roll over? The alternate count on this is that it's possible that primary wave 5 ended right here. That would be my alternate count. Let me go back to here, and I probably need to put that up here. It seems to me like we had a 5-wave sequence in here, but it's always possible that we ended up having a 1, 2, like a 3, 4, and a 5, but it doesn't look as good as the count that I've got right here. So I'm sticking with what we've got until decides to show me something different. That's the picture on the India Nifty 50. All right, let's take a look at SINA. All right, SINA, and I decided to do away with the daily wave count on here. I only had it from this low down here in March, April of 2015. And just just kind of stepped back and said, okay, what else is this chart telling me? So here was a big symmetrical triangle, kind of a symmetrical triangle bottom. And symmetrical triangles most of the time are continuation type patterns, but every once in a while they'll have either a big top or a big bottom, and I think that's what's happened here on SINA. You know, it broke out of it, pulled back to it, which a lot of times it'll do, and then takes off. So now I'm looking at this, and I think that there's a decent chance this is maybe getting close to ending in here, and we got the pullback on the RSI. I use a 10-bar RSI, and we're pulling back down around 28, 27.9, so about 28. Now, if it doesn't go a whole lot lower and doesn't get a lot more extreme, this looks like a decent turning point in here. Now, we got to wait for price to do it, because you can see how it at the low down in here, it got to 28.5. Over here, it got to 26.4. It's just that when it gets to extremes, like here where it got down to like 22 and 20, that's an indication that you're kind of punching down into that direction. Okay, just like when you get the extremes to the high side, it's an indication that the trend is most likely in that direction. So right now, I'm thinking there's a decent chance that this little pullback is getting close to ending. We'll watch, could get some support right in here between the high here at 68.1 and say 65, so 65 to 68. And currently, let's see, it is 11:15 a.m. Central Time on Friday, November 4th, and it is trading up 4 cents at 69.80. So it's just right in here. Okay, so that's the picture on SINA. And let me see, did I have, I think that was it. I think that's all we were talking about. Vipshop. All right, Vipshop, this is the one that looks like, when you look back at this, this is a pullback from a big, strong move that Vipshop had all the way up with the top up here in, where is this? April 2015. Now, you can sit back and say, well, okay, is that enough of a pullback for a bottom? Well, it was up here just slightly above 30, pulled all the way back to 10 to 11, so it lost 2/3 of the value. Now, see, this is semi-log. That's why it keeps everything in percentage view. If you look at this in arithmetic chart, you can see how dramatic the pullback was. Yeah, it was a pretty significant correction. So the fact that we're potentially putting in a large bottoming formation in here, makes sense. It's reasonable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. So if we look at this and go back to semi-log, so now we've got this pullback, and I drew a potential neckline across these two highs. Now, if we look at volume and say, okay, are we seeing the volume? Well, here's on the bottom. You're typically looking for that left shoulder to have climactic type of selling. We did. And then less selling on the head area, and then even less selling on the right shoulder coming down. You can see we're just not getting it. Now, I would have liked to have seen a lot more buying volume above the 50-day moving average in here, but we got a good spurt in this move right here up to this pivot point. But right now, it looks pretty good to me. And if you let me zoom back out of this, and what typically I think the right shoulder might be getting very close to a potential turning point. If you look at over here, do a parallel line to the neckline from the left shoulder, we may have a little bit more to go. Let me do. I typically like to do change that a little bit, change that to a dotted line. So that's why I've got the S down here. We may have a little bit more to the downside to go. What's Vipshop doing today? Yeah, it's up 18 cents. It's at 13.01. And sometimes it doesn't do the perfect symmetry. Sometimes it just doesn't get, play it out exactly correct. So we'll just have to watch and see. Do we get a turn in here? Does this start to go up? And of course, here's a nice little trend line that it would need to break as it moved up. But you're going to get an idea. Is it turning before then? I have a feeling. So that's the potential picture that I'm seeing on Vipshop. We'll have to keep an eye on that. That could get pretty interesting. And Vipshop's pretty active. If you look at my data window to the far left, second line from the bottom is the 50-day moving average of volume, 6.1 million shares a day average for the last 50 days. So that's nice activity on this stock. All right, that's it for today. Hope you found that helpful. If you did, please hit the like button and share it on social media. And we'll talk to you on the next video this weekend with the brief market wrap.